Of course, we're getting into the weekend, and getting into the weekend means two things. People are going to be happy, and they will express their happiness in various forms. One of them is taking on to some nice drinks that will get them happier, make them feel mellow, take away the stress for the week, and give them the comfort that they're looking for to enjoy their weekend. So we're going to be looking at one of those drinks, and there's a proposed alcoholic drinks control bill that has been put to compilation, and it's going to be affecting this industry in one way or another. But of course, we do have defense that is going to be here to see if the two can amalgamate the issue at hand. And so, is it going to help us bear a toxic-free generation? At the end of the day, that's what we need to look at the Uganda for tomorrow. But alcohol, again, remains one of the most consumed psychoactive substances across the entire world, with the global alcohol consumption per capita for persons aged 15 years or older increasing from 6.2 liters in 2014 to 6.4 liters of pure alcohol consumed every year in 2016, and this is according to World Health Organization report that came out in 2018. Now, repeatedly, surveys have been done by still the World Health Organization, and they have categorized Uganda among the leading alcohol consumers globally in more than 3 decades. That's 30 years. Although several interventions have been attempted by government, less success has been attained in dealing with the alcohol consumption regulations. Now, in the same regard, another bill has been tabled by Honorable Sarah Opendi, Woman MP Tororo District, that has attracted a lot of attention from stakeholders and from the industry at large. So she's joining us this morning to defend this bill, tell us more about this bill and how it's not just for the people of Tororo, but for Ugandans at large and for a good image of the country. Good morning to you, Honorable, and you're most welcome.
Good morning to you, and thank you for having me in this show.
Yes.
And my brother.
And the weight was offset. Well, your brother Honor is also joining us. He's the chairperson, Uganda Alcohol Industry Association. Good morning to you, Honor.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be at NTV this morning.
Okay, let's just first backtrack to the reports that the World Health Organization has brought out. For 30 years, we are consuming alcohol, and that consumption keeps increasing. I know that, of course, with the environment that has been created, it has enabled more industries, especially small-scale industries, to come up and contribute to how much alcohol we manufacture before we even consume it here in Uganda. And so for you, I would assume that this is good progress?
Look, it's not necessarily good progress, because the alcohol that is cited in the World Health Organization reports is not necessarily the alcohol we produce. There are 2 categories of alcohol in Uganda. There is what we call the illicit unregulated alcohol. It's 65% of the alcohol that the WHO is citing. And that is the alcohol that is largely consumed by most Ugandans because it's cheap. Unfortunately, it's also dangerous in many circumstances because it's not regulated. I'm here to speak for the alcohol that is regulated. And if you go by that alcohol alone, Uganda's consumption is very minuscule. We don't go anywhere close to many countries, including in Africa, countries like South Africa. But if you stretch further to Europe, they are far ahead in per capita consumption of the regulated alcohol. So actually, Uganda needs more consumption of the regulated alcohol because it's the alcohol that is safe, it's the alcohol that is regulated, it's the alcohol that is sold responsibly, is the alcohol that brings benefits to society. So I think that is a very, very big issue to understand, that when you say Ugandans are consuming, which alcohol are they consuming?
Okay.
Yes.
So if it's the regulated that we're going to look at from your angle, where do we stand as far as the World Health Organization reports are concerned?
I don't have the latest figure by WHO, but in terms of beer and regulated spirits, regulated wines, we are, as I said, we are in very safe limits. And in fact, we are under consuming.
Okay.
And what do I mean? We need to take more people that are consuming the unregulated alcohol, the unsafe alcohol, the alcohol that causes death, that causes blindness. If we could shift those people to the regulated alcohol, then we would actually have overall benefits for the country.
Honorable Opendi, does this resonate with the Alcohol Controls Bill in regards to what he has submitted? The irregulated alcohol or unregulated alcohol versus the regulated alcohol. He says that regulated has benefits right from social to developmental to economical. Now, in regards to the bill, the Alcoholic Drinks Control Bill, what is embedded in there that is contradictory to what he's saying?
I think we are speaking the same language, but only that he seems uncomfortable with the bill. But before I go into that, allow me to correct one statement. You were talking of an alcohol-free generation. That is impossible to have, because alcohol is a social beverage, something that brings people together. It's consumed for pleasure. It's some people, because of stress, consume alcohol. Actually, I was watching some news on one of the TV stations over the weekend in one of the districts in Western Uganda, and these were teachers, head teachers. And when they were being asked, they were drunk during the day, and when they were being asked, they said some have stress at home. Some said it's just a habit that I'm struggling to get out of. So we can't have an alcohol-free generation. However, we can regulate the alcohol. And my brother, the Honorable Napito, I call him my brother so that we can be friendly.
we are.
There shouldn't be any animosity amongst us.
Even in reality, we are all from Tororo. So
yeah. So my brother is talking about the illicit alcohol. And saying that we need to move people from consuming the illicit alcohol. And this is the importance of this bill, the justification for having the bill. Let's not talk about moving people from the illicit to the licit alcohol, but let us ensure that all the alcohol, that illicit alcohol, becomes licit. So that, yes, so that it is all regulated, that all the people that produce alcohol in this country are licensed to do so. And that is actually the goal of the bill. That nobody, not any person should sit, produce alcohol, manufacture, and bring it to the market. But also, secondly, not everybody should access this alcohol. There must be age limits. Because currently, if you look at, by the way, the statistics that we have, the younger people are consuming more alcohol. 15 years, if you look at the 15-year-olds, the alcohol consumption of that age group per capita is at 12.5 liters, much more higher than the national average, which is at 9.5 liters. So we need to ensure that such children below 18 years should not consume alcohol. If you look at still the reports that we have, the first age for most of the people that consume alcohol is 8 years. Why should an 8-year-old have access to alcohol? I thank the government when it banned the circuit warrage, because that was rampant. And even in schools, you'd find children with these meals, circuit warrage in their pockets.
They pocket them, yes.
Now we have the 200 mils. It is still very portable and accessible. We need to ensure that we package this alcohol in such a way that it is not something that...
But you're honorable. The packaging, again, is to attend to the consumer's needs, isn't it, Honor?
No.
Yes.
When you reduce the packaging, it's like, okay, people want to move with the alcohol, but they can't move with the 700 ml bottle, and so you want to attend to that need for the consumer so that they can continue to consume the product.
Yes and no. As the alcohol industry, we have minimum standards for packaging that we are recommending to our members. We agree that sachets should not be used, and we have strongly urged our members not to. We have worked with the Ministry of Trade, with the UNBS, to try and outlaw such.
And the minimum packaging right now is what?
Generally, we would recommend our members be moving to 250 and above.
Okay.
No. Yeah. But I think the point of departure we have as the alcohol industry, the regulated, again I need to emphasize, under the Uganda Alcohol Industry Association with the proposed legislation, is that it's a bit diversionary and slightly redundant because there is already adequate regulation. What do I mean? The primary thing you need is to ensure that the alcohol consumed in Uganda by every Ugandan and foreigners is safe. Currently, there is an adequate regulation supervised by the Uganda Bureau of Standards to require any producer of alcohol to comply with certain standards. So that law is there.
No,
so
I think
hold on.
no, but you interrupted me. I was still speaking, and I kept quiet. So allow me to interrupt you too. Allow me to interrupt you too.
Okay.
Yes, I think that is where we have a problem with my brother, because first and foremost, if you are already complying, why don't you allow us to deal with those who are not complying?
I'm saying
the current law as it is, we have the Liquor Act, we have the Nguli Act, we have the Portable Spirits Act. But look at the fines therein. 10,000 shillings, 3,000 shillings as the fine. Is that deterrent enough?
It's outdated.
Completely. The law we have now is obsolete.
No,
the
it's
fines, not. Yes, the penalties
on which
there.
law you are looking
no,
at.
the penalties therein are obsolete. Okay. So please allow
so can
us.
I explain the
you
law?
are already complying.
You
are already complying. Allow us to deal with those
that
are not complying.
Okay.
Actually, beer today, the market for alcohol, if you look at it, 11% is beer. I think 3% is the spirits. 1% are the wines. Now, the other 85% is uncategorized. You can't place it anywhere. So we need to ensure that we categorize all the alcohol in this country.
So there's categorizing it. Let's go back to in terms of the penalties that she was referring to.
That is climbing the
at
tree
the
from
time
the top.
of these acts being enacted, of course they were considering the economic status at that time, but we have moved far along to where we are presently, and so 3,000 shillings is not punishment anymore. 10,000 shillings is not punishable anymore. So it's only logical that there is, you know, a revision to the penalties, isn't it?
Yes. Honorable Opendi is cherry-picking the existing laws. She's deliberately steering away from other laws that are being applied to people like us who make beer, and they are being effectively implemented. I've just tried to explain that. One, you are required as a producer to certify your production with UNBS. But even before you take your product to UNBS, ideally you should have registered it. You should have produced it under some registration, which there are laws already.
But that is, those are the laws that you are complying with.
The laws are there, and there is nothing which stops those laws being applied down to the villages. That's what we are saying.
So that is what she's saying, that while you think yourself, then allow them to actually extend the same to those that are producing illicit.
What I'm saying, take the current laws to the illicit people. You don't need another law.
With what penalty?
Because if this law is working with others, it is not that it's a question of geography.
It should be the same laws that are applied to the same people. If you're doing illicit or licit, then it should be the same that is governing all of you.
That's what I'm saying.
You cannot have two laws on the same thing.
Yes, I'm saying, if that law, which is currently working effectively to control Nile breweries, Uganda breweries production and distribution and selling, why is it not being applied on other products? That is where the problem is. It's not that there is inadequacy in the law. There is inadequacy in enforcement.
There is inadequacy in the law, and you actually know it. But you don't want...
So point us the loopholes in the present law.
I have talked about the penalties.
The penalties, yes.
But also you must know that, for example, if you look at the spirits and wines, it's restricted to the municipalities and town councils. But currently, that's where they're supposed to sell. But where are they selling most of these products? In the villages. And you need to amend the law to reflect that. We have, for example, now online marketing.
To edit that to now sellable to villages?
Yes, but you have also online marketing, for example. Was it there in the law?
No, it wasn't.
To what extent? You have people selling, you know, currently along the streets and anywhere people are selling alcohol. Shouldn't this also be restricted to certain areas? Look at the hours of selling alcohol. Should people be selling alcohol from 6 a.m. to 6 a.m.? Or we should have certain hours in the past?
Just hold it on the hours.
Yes.
Our neighbors in Kenya are trying to use that as one of the regulatory arms. So when we look at Kenya in regards to the regulatory of time and when alcohol should be consumed by the Kenyans, it seems to be working for them. Is that something would be good adaptation for Ugandans? This is not Kenya.
If I want me to put in a light note, you can as well say Kenya has term limits.
This is East Africa.
That's not Kenya has term limits for leaders. So what works for us works for us. Uganda is a land of freedom. This is becoming a 24/7 country in terms of trading, in terms of consumption, in terms of production.
And Kenya is a 24/7 country already.
Yes, so I'm saying this is not Kenya.
The land
if Uganda, if it's not broken for Ugandans, you don't have to bring something which others are using.
No, we're simply benchmarking that. If it's working for them, isn't it something that we can adopt?
It's working for them because they have a broken situation. We don't have a broken situation. That requires...
How far different is their situation
that
from
requires
ours, Honor?
Here in this country, people are able to trade 24/7. I'm told in Nairobi, it shuts at 6. The levels of crimes are so high. Here we have a country that is effectively operating 24/7. So why do you think you can go and buy other products 24/7, but you cannot buy alcohol?
Okay.
So that's a contradiction. That's denying people the freedom of trade and the freedom of consumption.
All right. The bill does affect that trade and consumption.
I am consulting. And in consultations, we have nothing final. We'll come up with the best time for everybody. But we must not...
Which is 24/7.
We must,
the best time of trading or of consumption?
Both.
Both?
Yes.
To trade and to consume?
Yes. To trade and consume. But let's not run away.
From the consultations that you have made on trade and consumption, so far what are the recommendations that are being offered?
No, there are those who are proposing that we allow alcohol consumption from midday to midnight. There are those who are proposing from 4 to 10 p.m. There are those who are proposing from 3 to 10 p.m. So those are the proposals. And then those proposing that there should be no time limit.
Okay, so for the time limit proposals, what are the repercussions that are also proposed to deal with those that will go against 10 or midnight?
No, we are consulting. I don't want to get there.
Okay.
Because it's not, I have nothing final by the way. But let's not run away from the fact that the freedoms of one person consuming alcohol can become a problem to you who is not consuming alcohol. Do we know, or do we agree that some of the road accidents that we have today are as a result of people driving cars when they are drunk?
And magic word is some, Sarah, not all.
Yes, but you can't legislate, you know, you must put a law without eyes. You are legislating to deal with the problem. So, drink driving. We have people, children currently, children that go and buy alcohol and nobody cares.
True.
They give children alcohol.
Because we must again, the village setting that you are advocating should be allowed or considered in the bill as the last end of the trade is villages. And in these villages, daddy owner is going to send his son to the shop to buy the alcohol.
No, but that was not there.
Which is a culture. So then you'd have to
I want you to tell me, it's not a culture. It's just because Ugandans have sat back. There seems not to be anything regulating the alcohol industry, the consumption and production of alcohol. That's why all this is happening. I give this example often. When the tobacco control bill was being proposed, there was similar resistance. And I have already said this, I used to struggle with flu because I'm very allergic to cigarette smoke. Even as a cabinet minister, when I was appointed in 2011, I often had flu every time and again. Today.
You mean some people are smoking in the country?
Yes, people, no, people would smoke anywhere. In offices, you pass, but today, can you tell me whether there is public smoking after that bill came into force? You don't find these people. So let us not run away from doing our work as legislators.
Okay.
Because the implementation is by the executive. But also something that I wanted to say is that 7% of the deaths in this country are as a result of alcohol consumption. Alcohol is responsible for some of the non-communicable diseases that we are seeing today, the liver cirrhosis, the cancers, the diabetes. Alcohol is responsible for, disabilities, because there are people who have gotten accidents. These 200 meals we are talking about, if you check properly, do a check on some of these borders, some, not all. People are consuming that alcohol. It's in the jacket. He's riding this motorcycle. Poor judgment, and the passenger and him end up in an accident.
He's taking it so that he can be able to stay sober.
Yeah, but is that what we want?
In the night, so that he can put food
is
on
that
the table
what we
for
want?
his family.
But also productivity. Look at the production. People are supposed to be productive. But when you go to the countryside, the men are no longer working in the gardens. They have left the gardens for the women.
That's a cultural thing.
No, it is not a cultural thing.
It has nothing to do. These cultures have had alcohol embedded in their culture.
I think that is not proper.
And so if you
those
say
early
that
years,
the men are seated behind because of alcohol, no.
Go to the
These men have been raised saying that alcohol, their fathers, their forefathers have been doing the same thing.
Have you lived in the villages before?
I have not lived per se, but I have been there.
Now, let us who grew up in the villages talk. Because when we were growing up, we used to see men doing their work and have lunch in the afternoon, then they go to the bars. Today, somebody wakes up and goes to the bar. Doing nothing.
I think
we need Ugandans to be productive. Now we are talking about the parish development model. I hope the money can reach.
Alcohol will step in the way.
I hope the money. I hope the money can reach there. Yes, I want them to make money, and then they go and drink.
So in regards to this, and from a business perspective,
please, before I say anything, we should underline the word. It is not alcohol. It is alcohol abuse. Underline.
Okay.
And let's be very clear about that. There are a lot of people watching this show who have spent all their lives, adult lives, consuming alcohol, but very responsible citizens. They have educated their children, they are running honorable families, they are really the ultimate citizens you want in the country. They have not abused alcohol. I grew up in a family, my father was consuming alcohol, and so it is not about consuming alcohol, it's about alcohol abuse. And abuse is not limited to alcohol. There are so many products where abuse will have negative consequences. So please, let's not come and say people are dying because of alcohol.
So as an association, how can you help the Honorable in making sure that in the proposed bill, there's consideration of abuse, not alcohol?
First of all, she's preaching to the converted. As an industry, we have a code of conduct, both for the industry and for in-house, which requires, first of all, that we produce safe products. We distribute safe products. We advertise safe products. We discourage underage drinking. We discourage drink driving. We even discourage pregnant mothers from drinking.
So as an association for the regulated alcohol, how can you, what recommendations, and from your experience, this is from your experience, what recommendations would you then offer to this bill as it's being prepared in regards to how then they can attract the ones that are manufacturing the illicit alcohol to be?
Yeah, the first recommendation that remove diversionary things like limiting hours and concentrate on making sure, as she proposes, that whoever is producing alcohol must adhere to the UNBS standards. Whoever is producing or distributing alcohol must comply with the URA requirements. And whoever is selling alcohol must comply with city and municipal authorities trading license requirements. Do not stigmatize alcohol and say, have a special license for it. That is already putting additional cost on the traders. The government of Uganda is committed to lower cost of business. Why do you want a special trading license for alcohol and then another one for other products?
Okay.
Don't stigmatize alcohol. Don't drive it underground, because history shows when you drive it underground, the consequences are even worse. People will consume from under beds instead of consuming when we are three and we regulate each other.
Okay. All right. Honorable,
yes.
There was a similar bill presented in the 10th Parliament. How different is, what's the difference in the two?
No, we've never had this bill presented. Never.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in consideration of...
maybe what I can just say is that government, the executive, cabinet, passed the alcohol control policy. And the policy remains redundant without the law. So you need a law so that those responsible for implementation can actually move forward and implement it. So there is a policy, and this is 2019. So my bill will be informed by that policy.
Okay.
But also allow me to correct an impression. The impression that we want to ban the consumption of alcohol. We want to ban the production.
No, you want to control.
To ban the
you
consumption.
Want to take away their freedom.
Ban the production. We are not, my bill doesn't seek to do that. My bill only seeks to regulate.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So how long is this assessment going to be taking long, and when do we expect it to be presented?
We are almost concluding. I think we've done wide consultations. We had teams move to different parts of the country. We've met the different stakeholders.
Put this thing to a referendum.
Yes, we've we've met the various stakeholders like the Alcohol Association.
And disagreed?
Yes, no, we didn't disagree. We agreed. we were picking. We did not disagree.
Yeah.
By the way, we were picking their views.
Okay.
We were picking views from the different stakeholders. And of course, we just have one benchmark to do. And hopefully by next month, we should have this bill presented for the first reading.
All right. We look forward to that presentation to Parliament. In your closing remarks, Honor?
Yeah, I think the devil is in the details. So Honorable Sir Opendi should be honest at all stages and not smuggle in things that will curtail the freedom to sell and the freedom to consume alcohol in this country. Okay. And then we also don't want to make a law that only gets enforced on the visible players like us and disadvantages us when you have the whole machinery trying to interpret every detail of the law on a few people, because it has no capacity to catch the real culprits.
All right.
That's what we have seen
Thank
already
you so much,
so many laws.
Chairperson, Uganda Alcohol Industry Association, and of course Honorable Sarah Opendi, who is putting together the pieces. Of course, at the end of the day, 1 month's meat can end up being another month's poison, but we wait for the presentation in Parliament and see how the members of Parliament will react. At the end of the day, it must help to continue boosting economy, not bring down the economy, as we are trying to revive it, resuscitate it post-COVID-19. Thank you so much. That brings us to the end of our Kickstarter. We do have a conversation coming up, the FUBA Afro Basket competition that's ongoing right now in Lugogo. We do have FUBA president here to give us light and hope for Team Uganda. That's the Gazelles, of course. Later on, we're going to be looking into exports of fresh fruits and vegetables, their contribution to the economy, and how you can tap into that industry. Stay with us.